Born and raised in Houston, Texas, she began her career as a school teacher and part-time model. But her passion was always music, and eventually that became her main focus. A wise choice. She has sold over 4.5 million gospel albums in the U.S. alone, was named the #1 gospel artist of the last decade by Billboard magazine, and has won Grammy, Dove, and American Music Awards, to name but a few. Today she hosts her own radio show, heads up her own fashion line, and has written the bestseller Points of Power. Hello, I'm Ernie Manouse. Coming up on Interviews, our conversation with gospel music great Yolanda Adams. I notice you refer to your work as ministry.
Yes.
Why not as your music? Why ministry?
I think music tends to administer certain things. Of course, for me, because I am a Christian, I want it to administer hope, healing, encouragement, those kinds of things. So instead of saying, oh, my music does this, and that, you know, the root word of administer is minister. So I like to use that word. It ministers to people.
When you first began to sing as a child, when it first came to you, did it mean more than just the joy of singing? Did it always have a different meaning to you?
Well, as a child, you know, you grow up in a household where there's music all the time, so you just think it's the norm. As you grow older, you find out, everybody doesn't have this certain thing that you have that brings people to tears when you're 8 years old, you know, that brings people to jubilation and shouting when you're 13, that makes people ponder when you're 18, you know. So it means something at every stage of life. Right now, it means, you know, joy and recovery and being able to bounce back from any situation.
But where was the point where you realized that you touched people in the way that you did? What was the moment that it came to you that's like, wait a minute, other people sing,
right?
I have something else.
I think I had to be about 16. And that was when it really hit my heart that, man, this thing is powerful.
Was it the voice or the message or delivery? What?
It was a combination of all those things. It was a combination of the voice. I mean, you know, there's no denying there's something powerful in the voice coming from this little frame. And you try to explain to people, well, you know, it's just who I am. Yeah, right, lady. But, you know, it's a part of the voice, but it's a part of the emotion that comes from experience. Because there are a lot of people who have great voices, melodic voices, but the experience of life and being able to translate to people that same emotion that you felt when you overcame whatever in a song tends to make it a bit different. I also know that there's a higher power bigger than myself. So I've always realized that. And I just believe between the mic and my voice, that higher power right there, it's hanging in there somewhere and it's making whatever I sound like sound great.
But at 16, to have that depth of experience, to be able to touch people in that way, had the years before given you a lot to draw on in that area? Definitely
did. I lost my father when I was 13, and I saw my aunt pass away of breast cancer. We had, when I say none of the research that we had back, you know, right now, that we had back then. So I saw the progression of that, and I saw how my family rallied together and how we were there for one another. And so that's always been at the core and foundation of my life. And so that had a lot to do with where I was at 16, knowing that there's power in the song, knowing that there's power just being able to use your voice, you know, because there are a lot of people who have voices much better than mine, but they were never given that chance to put it on a recording and it go all over the world.
Talk a little bit about the religious upbringing you had in your family and how that shaped you or created what we have today.
Well, I think people would not really think that I'm religious if I start telling them how my background was. Yeah, we went to church every Sunday, choir rehearsal every Thursday, but in our house, we listened to everything from Bach, Beethoven, bebop, blues, everything. And so I had this wonderful musical background because my mom was a music major and my dad had a very nice voice. So we were listening to everything. Aretha Franklin was always in our house. And of course, Tremaine Hawkins and the Hawkins Singers. But again, Bo Diddley, Charlie Pride, all those guys were there too. And I believe that the experience of having that plethora of artists come in and out of our house through our record player or cassette player, I think that made a huge difference in combining the background of loving God. The relationship with God was important, and the balance of how to live your life knowing that you know God, but not, you know, putting everything on him like he had to do it. He gave us a responsibility, and I really love that my parents were very active in that. You know, you've got to have a relationship with God, but God is going to hold you responsible for what you're supposed to do. So it never was that, oh, you got to go to church, and oh, you got to do this, and oh, you got to do that. God was loving in my family. He was cool in my family. As a matter of fact, God went to the skating rink with us. So that's how cool God was.
When you were finding success and fame and fortune, ever the conflict with the religion and the secular worlds coming together? I know initially the gospel community questioned you as being too pop or too current.
Oh, they still question me. Don't worry about it. No. Oh, wow. I think, again, because of the cool background that I came from, I never toyed with that, or I never had a problem with being able to sing anywhere, sing the way I do, and get paid for it. Hey, the Bible says a workman is worthy of his hire. You know, whenever you want to, you know, really put God to the test, find out what he said. And that's exactly what he said. And so I'm like, well, hey, if God doesn't have a problem with me getting paid, well, there we go.
But did you find, was there tension? Was there pulling you to the secular side? Was there record companies saying, hey, why not try, let's move away from that. You could have a much bigger crowd, much bigger audience.
I've heard that so many times. I mean, if I had $1 for every time I heard that, you and I would be doing this interview on a private jet.
Who can cash in for us?
Yes, let's do that. My mom always said this: I want you to choose the road that you would be proud of. I also want you to choose the road that would make you the happiest. I knew that for me, expressing my love for God and the way my life has been shaped because of my beliefs made me the happiest. Now, it doesn't mean that I've never been in love, or it doesn't mean that I don't sing Baby Baby with Whitney or Mariah to their songs, but that didn't give me the most passion. And I think when you follow your passion, you never have any regrets. And I can tell you, sitting here in front of you with this big smile on my face, there are no regrets for me. Have I been asked to, you know, change from gospel music, inspirational music? Yes, I have, on many occasions. But what's the payout? I asked one producer, he was telling me, yeah, you can be as big as this one and big as that one and big as, I said, yeah, I know all of them. I said, but can you guarantee me that what I will sing will change a person's life in such a way that it gets better? And he couldn't answer that. And so I said, well, I'm gonna stick with my boss.
Yeah. Does your music always have to have a message to it? Can you record an album that's just joy as opposed to helping your audience move somewhere else?
I think, wow, that's a great question. Never been asked that question. You got me there. I think that all music has a message. That's the intention of music. The intention is to interpret a thought or a phrase, whether it's dance, 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 you know, that's the thought, let's dance, dance. The intention is to get you off your feet, you know, onto the dance floor and just boogie the night away. Even, you know, things like it'll get better tomorrow or everything will work out. That's the intention of that. I don't think music can have, I guess, a basis without having, you know, that intent. Where are we going with this? That's the beauty of music and poetry and, you know, entertainment. Where are we going with this? Am I going to give you a laugh? Am I going to give you a good cry in the opera? You know, all those things. I think everything has to have purpose, though.
Yeah. Okay, let me take you back again. We jumped too far ahead.
Oh, no, you're good.
Because then you go to school to become a teacher, and you go into teaching. But you still do have the music in your life?
Yes, I do. Actually, before I went to be a teacher, I was going to do what you're doing. I was going to be a journalist. And I graduated in radio TV journalism from Texas Southern University. Woohoo, Tigers, let's go. This year, please. And but it didn't work out. After my internship at our CBS affiliate, it didn't pan out, so I had to go back and do something because I just bought a Firebird. Brand spanking new, red, cherry, you know, that cherry red with the T-tops. Got my T-tops stolen 2 weeks later, man. But, you know, of course, here we go. I finished college and we're on our way. I'm gonna work at the CBS station, and all of a sudden, no, you're not gonna work at the CBS station. This is where it ends. And I said, okay, I have a car note.
Yeah.
And I got to pay for this. Let's find a job. So I started substitute teaching. And I found that I fell in love with those kids, and they were like sponges. Whatever you told them about fractions or about multiplication, they could get it. And I'm like, this is way cool. It takes you 5 years to get an adult to do what you need them to do. It only takes about 20 minutes to explain it, apply it, and then have them regurgitate it back to you, you know, in the form of a lesson. Yes.
Yeah. When you hear all the struggles that teachers are having today, and the education system with money, and the administration, and layer upon layer, how do you feel about all that?
I feel that as a country, we are letting our children down when we don't pour money into education. We have to. We've got to get the best teachers. We've got to get those teachers who have the experience in the world. Like other countries, if there is a mathematician who can come in and show kids the fun way to do fractions or the fun way to do multiplication, they have that speaker come in. They will pay him or her whatever their stipend is, and they have a 6-week program or a 3-week program. We don't do that here until our upper grades, like high school and then college. We need that done in elementary school, because that's when kids start to figure out, who am I? What do I want to do? You know, and I'm not one of these people who says that, you know, teachers deserve to get as much payment as, say, LeBron James. LeBron James is a franchise, and you have to understand the business. We all understand the business. He brings hundreds of billions of dollars to whatever city he's in. I'm not talking about that. I just believe that every teacher should make, and this is starting all the way up, upwards of 70,000 all the way up to 250 according to what they do, 250,000 according to what they do. Because when your teachers are paid well, they want to go to work. There are a lot of teachers right now who don't get paid half that, and they're going to work, they're using their money buying supplies, buying books, those things, even buying one iPad so each kid in the classroom can have a feel of an iPad. That iPad may be the only thing that that child sees in an entire year that sparks that education. Man, I can do better.
Yeah. Now your foundation, though, has come out of this idea. And what do you do with the foundation?
Well, what we do with our foundation, we mentor children from 8th grade all the way through college. The reason we do 8th grade is because that's when we kind of lose our kids. You know, they're kids and they enjoy elementary school, but then they're thrust into this middle school, and middle school is exactly that. You're in the middle of everything. You're in the middle of your emotions. You're trying to, you know, be this kid, but you have this adult foot size.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you have to do, and when you catch them right at that point of, man, do I give up or do I go on? We want them to keep going on.
Yeah. We're going to go back on to what you're going on to. So you don't really leave teaching, it's just that the music career takes off so much, you can't do both.
Can't do both at all. Can't get back on Mondays or Sunday night to be in the classroom at 7:30 on that Monday morning to greet the kids at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to make a choice. It was
hard
a tough
decision?
choice. Very hard decision. Very, very hard decision, because I thought all of my life I was going to sing on the weekends, and then I was going to teach during the week, have the best of both worlds, everything would work, amen.
Yeah.
Didn't work like that.
Doesn't always work the way you think it will.
Doesn't always work that way, but I'm glad that it didn't work that way for me, because I still have that passion for young people and for teachers, which is where the foundation comes in, which is where we donate money and clothing and all this kind of stuff, because now the star piece is you know, at this place where folks, oh, Yolanda Adams, let's listen to what she has to say. Yolanda Adams, oh, she's giving a check. Yolanda Adams, oh, she's going to speak for us today. Cool.
Another thing that I wanted to go into is that a friend of mine was a pop star in Europe and had a very successful career. And he said all along the way, more money, more fame, the exposure to drugs, drink, whatever he wanted, every sin of the world was given to him.
Right.
And he still felt an emptiness.
Yeah.
And that what finally saved him was when he found religion.
Yeah.
And he said he could have walked away from all of it, and he did, to follow that path.
Right.
Explain that transition. People just don't get it.
You know what I think? I think if there's an emptiness before the pop stardom, before whatever stardom, or before that, you know, $2 million job, you're going to have the emptiness all the way through.
Yeah.
You know, money is only going to pacify for so long. Relationships are only going to pacify for so long. You know, things are only going to pacify for so long. I just believe that we were all created with a God space in us. And I'm not trying to tell anybody how to fill their space. I just know that when you fill that space with love, you fill that space with understanding, you fill that space with this need to help and give, everything comes back to you 100-fold.
Talking about coming back to 100-fold, I saw in an interview where somebody asked you to list all the awards you had won,
Oh,
and
gosh.
it became quite difficult
Yes.
for you. Suffice to say, there are plenty of them. When you first start receiving those awards, did they mean something more to you, or was it just things you picked up along the way? How do you view them?
I view awards as, you know, payback for all the great work you've done, although you don't have to have them in order to do great work. It's your peers and people around you saying, hey, that was great. We love that album, or we love the writing that you did. We love that you produced that particular song or whatever. You know, you wrote those lyrics. That was so cool. But every time you get the nomination, every time you hear your name, it is like the first time.
Really?
It's like the first time. I don't care if they say it 20 million times, that 20 millionth and one time.
It still feels good.
It still feels good, because it's like, wow, this is amazing. They still like me. I'm like Sally Field. You like me. You really like me.
Do you know when the point was you realized that people knew who you were? That not just your friends and family,
Right.
but that name brought recognition? Do you remember realizing that?
Wow. I think the first time I was invited to Jay Leno,
Really?
that was 1992, and for Branford Marsalis to say that he and his wife and his son were listening to my CD from New Orleans to their drive to California, that really meant something to me, that I helped them on the road. I kept them awake, sometimes a little loud, but just kidding. It meant something because Jay was so nice, and he talked to my mom on the phone because, you know, I'm this kid from Texas, I'm nervous. Yeah, I've been on the radio, yeah, I've been overseas and stuff like that, but this is Jay Leno, dude, you know? And for him to take the time to talk to my mom and say that, you know, he enjoyed the music, Branford introduced him to the music, and I had been on there like 3 times since then. And again, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm back again, they like me.
Okay, now you've gone, though, from being a person, like you said earlier, when someone's name becomes an institution,
Right.
now you're something bigger than just you. Added worry, concern, how people then are viewing you, what you have to live your life as a role model, does all that play in, and how do you keep sane in all of that?
Well, the cool thing about me is I'm going to be me all the time. You're going to get Yolanda. You're going to get Yolanda in the grocery store. You're going to get Yolanda in Carnegie Hall. You're going to get Yolanda at the Texans game. You're going to get Yolanda at the Rockets game. I'm the same person. It is so cool that I've never had to have this star persona and this home persona. I'm just me, you know. I'm mustard greens and baked chicken. That's who I am.
So there aren't those moments when it's like, oh, I'm out of milk, I've got to run. Oh, I'm Yolanda Adams, I got to get dressed, someone's going to see me. Any of those moments, anything?
I live in a cool place called Houston, Texas, where people love me and they take me as I am, you know. And this is one of the coolest tricks in, I'll give you the showbiz trick. put the big, you know, Katharine Hepburn glasses and the scarf on, or, you know, or look like you've just been working out. What? That working out thing? It works every single time. You have on, you know, your jogging pants and things like that. And, you know, I go into Whole Foods and everybody, hey, Miss Adams, how you doing? I'm good. It's like, whoa, that woman works out a whole lot. Well, I just got out of bed and put on my workout gear to come and get some milk.
Now the secret's out. Now people are on to you.
Eyeglasses, a little lip gloss, you're cool.
Okay, and you've got to get up early because you do a morning radio show.
Yes, I do.
And you're all over the country with the show. How did that come into being?
Well, one of those relationship things. I asked God for a special thing because I'm a single parent with a daughter who's 10 years old, and I see her growing before my eyes every single day. This kid is 5'7", and she's 10 years old, and I know she's still growing. I'm 6'1", so she's going to catch me probably in another 2-3 years. Wow. I'm going to be looking up at my kid like, hey, I'm still the mom, okay, remember that. And I asked God to give me something that would allow me to be home with my daughter more, you know, because with my schedule, I can be speaking about my health and wellness tours, or just speaking at conferences, doing motivational speaking, or singing, you know, like I do. I can do something every single day. But will that help my daughter be a better person? I'm a mom first. Oh, I am such a mom. I'm a mom first. So He granted that in the form of the Yolanda Adams Morning Show, and we are 4.5 years into it, and I am not looking back. It was one of the best decisions that I made.
You mentioned being a single parent. Being in this fishbowl of fame, was moving toward becoming a single parent a difficult thing, and was there concern how that would look to the outside world looking in?
Oh, definitely. Now, I can't sit here and tell you that everything has been, you know, all the press has been wonderful and folks just love me, love me, love me. Houston does, but, you know, there are a lot of people on blogs who are like, how can she talk about God and she gets divorced? Well, Jesus never said that you couldn't get divorced. He just said that it's not, you know, he wished that no one would get a divorce, but he understands because he understands people. Hello, you know?
But when you have issues like that in your life, whatever they are, once again, that fishbowl, is it harder for you? Does it put a certain pressure on you? And do you have to think about how is the reaction going to be?
It puts pressure on you if you let it. Now, I'm one of those persons. I am Yolanda at Whole Foods. I'm Yolanda, you know, at home. I will not allow anyone to keep me in bondage because it looks good. It looks like the perfect package. It looks like this, it looks like that. And if somebody tells you, hey, I can't do this anymore. No, please, you gotta do this. It looks good to the camera. No, when that's done, when somebody releases themselves from you, you gotta let it go. And it was a hard decision because I did not want my daughter to be raised by one parent. And I had the wonderful privilege of having a mom and a dad that were there at the house hanging tough with us and, you know, hanging tough with one another. And we saw some of the things that could go on in a marriage, but they worked together and they made it work. With 5 kids, that was way cool, you know, because we're all in this place together. We can see Mom didn't pay that, so she's in trouble.
There's a lot of people that will come from the religious side and say, well, you know, I wait for God to decide. God will guide me. God. How much responsibility do you feel people need to put into their own lives, and how much do you let go, let God?
Well, I think you let go and let God every day. But the more you walk with him, the more you find out he's not as hard as people make him. You know, it's in the book. All you got to do is read what he says. He says that he wants you to have life in abundance to the full till it overflows. If you're in a place where you're emotionally drained all the time, that's not abundance. And that's definitely not to the full. And you don't want that to overflow. So you have to make a choice. And he follows you in your choices. And if the choice is right, you can sleep at night. And I sleep very well.
And this is a horrible segue, but I'm going to go for it. And I'm sure you sleep in a really wonderful nightgown because you have a fashion line.
I have a fashion line.
How to find the way to the fashion line.
Man, let me tell you something. I have a fashion line that I'm very proud of. As a matter of fact, this is a part of our Royal Cherry line, the cherry and black. I wanted to give women a choice in the fashion world. There are a lot of things that look awesome on the runway, they don't translate in real life. I wanted to help the woman go from the boardroom to the banquet or to brunch or wherever she wanted to go, from church to synagogue, wherever you want to do your thing. I want you to take the Yolanda Adams collection with you. Yes.
So what's on the in the future for you? What are you looking at?
Oh, there's so much in the future. I have a new album that's out. Well, I can't say album anymore. Shows you how old I am. I have a new CD out in Walmart stores called Becoming. It's on iTunes. You know, you can find out about all of that. Of course, the morning show is still going on. And from the clothing line, we're going to extend it for many, many years, because I have all these crazy designs in my head that I want to expand. I want to do a gown line. Ooh. And some of my favorite people in the world are like Bob Mackie and Donna Karan and Carolina Herrera, people that just make you look so just beautiful, you know, that flowing down, you know, cascading down the stairwell.
No matter what it is, you always look beautiful, you sound beautiful. Thank you for all the years of inspiration and talent and music.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And thank you for letting me be myself today.
Thank you. Yolanda Adams.
To order a DVD of this or any episode of Interviews, please visit HoustonPBS.org.